Hi guys, Ali Taylor down here at Heron's Reach, and today I'm going to talk to you about the 3 biggest mistakes I think all golfers make on par 3s that's potentially ruining your scores. Right then guys, so par 3s when we're out playing, very often it feels like a bit of a respite because a lot of par 4s nowadays and par 5s are really, really long, and a lot of you golfers out there feel that you can't get there in the correct number of shots, but the par 3s give that little bit of respite because it feels like I can actually reach the green in regulation and I should score really, really well. Now the problem is, right from the very top end of the game down to kind of amateur golf, you just don't see that par 3s are the easiest holes statistically. So as an example, at the very top end of the game, the top players absolutely murder the par 5s, play them well under 5 strokes around over the year, predominantly because of the length they hit the ball. So the par 5s are where they make their scores. Par 4s, generally the tour players play in around about 4 strokes. So play at around about level par, but the par 3s, they actually play over par throughout the season. Now these are the guys that, with the mistakes I'm going to talk about that a lot of golfers make, these guys on tour predominantly don't make these mistakes and yet still play those holes over par. So it's a horrible day down here in Blackpool, so I was going to get out on the golf course to do this, but we're going to go on the Trackman Simulator. I've got the 12th hole at Muirfield Village, do a little flyover, talk about this par 3, talk about kind of where the trouble is, and then we're going to get into those 3 mistakes, help you guys hopefully learn from this and get your scoring so much better on the par 3s. Right, we can see 150 yards, so lots and lots of water to fly over, bunker short right, bunker long straight in line with the flag, and we can see the flag on the left hand side. So as we move from the tee towards the green, I mean at 150 yards, not a long hole at all, but we can see that flag on the left-hand side. Not a huge target to aim at. Anything coming up kind of 10 yards, 15 yards short is wet. Anything short right's in the sand, long is in the sand, or left doesn't leave us a lot of green to play with. Right then, so we've seen the par 3 fairly innocuous in length in 150 yards, but trouble short, water, so we're dead if we're in there. If we're going to miss the green, maybe the short right bunker is probably the better option rather than the back bunker, because if you're in the back bunker and you hit it too far, you could be in the water with your second, and certainly missing left isn't great. But the first mistake I see golfers make is actually the height they tee the ball with their irons. Now, obviously being the first shot on the hole gives you that perfect opportunity to tee the ball up. And I think where a lot of golfers let themselves down is because they're very worried, particularly on a par 3 like this, of maybe catching the ground first, they actually tee the ball up too high. And we can see when we tee the ball up like this, the only place I can really hit the ball if I put a good swing on this is very, very high up the blade, which is where there's no mass behind the ball. So the first thing I would see is golfers take their club. I've picked 8-iron. We're going to talk about club selection possibly being another one of the issues. I'm going to hit 8-iron and try and deliver it so that I would be touching the ground after the golf ball, controlling my low point, and let's see if this gets all the way. So that one felt horrible. Really just looks like it popped up in the air. It's bang on line. And I just don't think that's got any chance to get in there and be coming up well short at a carry of only 125. So the first thing we should be looking to do is, a lot of golfers will even talk about putting the ball down on the ground. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this. It's maybe different on the mat, but on the grass you can sometimes put the ball on what looks like a perfect lie, and the ball can actually just sit down a little bit, and again it struggles to get that contact. So just a very, very small little tee. Pop that into the ground, and straight away now, if I put a good swing on that, I can see that's going to come more out the middle of the club, and we're going to get the full distance that the shot deserves with that club. So the first major mistake is tee height. Don't be teeing the ball too high. You just want to tee the ball so it's almost like it's on just a slightly fluffy lie, and that's going to help you get that nice centered strike, not be too high up the blade and cost you distance. So once we know, hopefully, the strike's taken care of, that moves me on to mistake number 2, which for most golfers is thinking they hit the ball further than they actually do. So a lot of golfers will tell me that they hit their 7-iron easily 150 carry, maybe 155. So even in this particular situation, they'll stand there and say, I might even be able to get there with a 9-iron for this over that water, but to be safe, I think I'll go for the 8. So most golfers, when they talk about distance as well, they talk about how far the ball finishes. Whereas for me, it's so important to understand how far you carry the ball through the air, because if you don't make the carry on a hole like this, we're in a lot of trouble. Potentially, we're wet. So people would take 8-iron, for example, here, thinking that, you know, no way they should be hitting 7-iron here. This is more than enough club to get there. You can see that one online. Needs to go. Would have been just in the water, so it might have rolled up to 150, but that's not going to work with 8-iron there. So it's taking enough club to make sure we don't have to hit it absolutely perfectly, but even a solid strike gets us far enough that we're nice and dry. So I would then go from 8-iron to 7-iron. So straight away now, I know I've got enough club to get me over the water. Then that takes us into mistake number 3. So most golfers, as soon as they see the flag on a par 3, they instantly want to go flag hunting, which is great when you pull it off. But certainly this hole's a great example that if I'm straight at the flag with a little bit of a miss hit, I'm maybe in the water. If I tweak it a little bit left, it's a tough up and down. So I always think with a hole like this, you know, go more middle of the green. I've taken a bit extra club, but go middle of the green. So here I'm going to aim more at that bunker that's at the front, knowing that if I don't quite get it in the bunker, I've got a shot. At least I'm dry and I'm hitting my next one away from the water. If I do strike it well, it might get past pin high, but it's certainly going to give me a chance of a putt. So I'm going to aim a little bit further right and then put a good solid swing on it with that extra club. So a good strike. Setting off a little bit right of where I wanted. So we can see that one there. Even though I didn't quite hit the shot I wanted, it's dry. And from there, the worst I should make is 4. But again, it's in play. Those first couple maybe in that water, 3 off the tee, it's a tough shot. So again, same club, maybe not going to aim quite as far right on this one. And again, a really good strike. I've just turned that one over a little bit, so I'm going to get away with this one a bit more. So that one's setting off middle of the green, just drawing a little bit more than I wanted. So not a great swing, but because I've been a little bit more safe with where I've aimed, we can see I've massively got away with that one. So we can see there, even though that last one actually wasn't a great swing, I aimed middle of the green, would have definitely had enough carry that would have got over that trap, like that first one where I aimed middle, pushed it a touch and went in the trap. But all of a sudden, that one then, when I've aimed middle of the green and just drawn it a touch, I've got a really shortish putt for birdie. Whereas if I'd have aimed at the flag and hit that, I'd have missed left up on the bank. But for me, those 3 mistakes of teeing it the wrong height, so that you, with the poor strike, you actually can't tell if you've got the right club, is an initial terrible mistake to make. Then the second mistake of not really knowing how far you hit your clubs and actually underclubbing. Very, very rarely do I see golfers get a well-struck iron shot past the flag. And like I said, generally I think it's because golfers think they hit the ball further than they do, and then don't always go chasing the flag. I think most golfers, if you could hit it middle of any par 3 and 2 putt and take a 3, even the occasional 3 putt, you'd already be saving a massive number of shots. And if that was the case, then that's a really good way of getting that score over 18 holes down and reducing that handicap. Right then guys, so those 3 major mistakes that all golfers make on par 3s. Comment below, let me know, out of those 3, how many of those mistakes do you make? Hopefully you're not one of those golfers who's making all 3 of those mistakes. But if you are, there's a lot to work on. But if not, it might just be 1 or 2 of those things that you struggle with. But like I said, don't be too harsh on yourself if you do play the par 3s over par. Even as a scratch golfer, the tour players are playing par 3s over par. But if we can just save a couple of shots around, that could be huge for your scoring. So make sure you're teeing the ball just off the ground. Don't be teeing it high. I know it feels like there's less chance of maybe fatting the ball, but hitting it high on the club face is equally as destructive and can still get you in a lot of trouble. Then it's a case of making sure you've got the right club, that it doesn't have to be your very best strike to get there. Just a nice solid one would reach the green. If it's a little bit past the pin, if the pin's at the front, that's more than happy with that. Occasionally, I would actually say for golfers, actually play for the back edge, because it's very, very rarely that golfers ever hit it the distance that they're trying anyway. And then final point is don't always go flag chasing. That's definitely the one I'm guilty of. I think there's times when I get on a par 3, I know I've got a perfect lie, whatever club in my hand, I feel like I can hit it stone dead, and it's too easy to miss the green in the wrong place and really, really struggle then to score well. So make sure you do those 3 things well, watch those scores come down on the par 3s, and really, really start enjoying par 3s rather than them being a real card wrecker. So guys, hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, like it and share it, comment below, I'll get back to as many people as I can. If you have enjoyed today's content and you don't currently subscribe to my channel, please consider clicking the button below. Remember to ring the notification bell and then you find out whenever I drop a new video. Follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Ali Taylor Golf. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here soon. Stay in contact.